Well, we are looking at the potential for some rain as we get into Memorial Day. Of course, lots of sunshine today and a clear sweep on the radar, but that'll change as we go through the weekend. We'll begin again with the radar. Nothing showing up here locally, and the front that brought us the showers and thunderstorms yesterday continues to push off towards the south. And with those winds coming out of the north, humidity was lower, temperatures were lower, lots of sunshine today. Notice all the showers and thunderstorms across areas of the deep south. But for the rest of the evening, mainly clear skies, light winds coming in out of the east and northeast. Notice by 7 o'clock, temperatures in the mid to upper 70s to near 80 degrees in inland spots. And we'll drop back into the 60s later tonight. Mainly clear skies once again. By tomorrow, those winds start to pick up a little more of a southerly direction, so temperatures will climb a little bit. Humidity will climb just a little bit as well. Still looking at a lot of sunshine through the day tomorrow. We'll top it out around 85 degrees, and again, it'll feel a little bit warmer than that as some of that humidity starts to build. And then as we get into Friday evening, looking nice, a great evening, temperatures in the 70s. Saturday, winds continue out of the south, temperatures still in the upper 70s to low 80s around midday and into the mid 80s into the afternoon. We'll include a slight chance of an isolated shower to about a 25% chance of rain on Saturday, mainly for western parts of Hampton Roads. I think the bulk of the moisture will remain out through central and western Virginia and North Carolina, but can't totally rule out one or two of these making their way into western parts of Hampton Roads. As we turn to the tropics, we talked about at the top of the broadcast, an area of low pressure sitting over the Yucatan Peninsula, and the cluster of thunderstorms on the east side of it has a decent chance of developing into a tropical system. We're saying about a 90% chance over the next 5 days. And here are those computer models once again fairly consistent, keeping the storm moving through the central Gulf of Mexico where those water temperatures are very warm, which would promote some strengthening of the system. And again, landfall possibly. Again, we're looking at likely into Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, somewhere here between New Orleans and over towards Pensacola, Florida. Again, a lot of time to watch it. Either way, whether it has a name or not, it is going to bring a lot of rain to the deep south and maybe even through parts of Hampton Roads for the second half of the Memorial Day weekend. Outside right now, lots of sunshine, 78 degrees, northeasterly winds at 9 miles per hour, 82 in Surrey, 76 down in Manio, a little bit cooler near the water, 78 in Hampton, and 88 degrees back in Williamsburg. So clear skies tonight, comfortably cool down to 63 degrees, 85 tomorrow, mostly sunny, a little bit warmer than today, 70 and partly cloudy tomorrow night, and then on Saturday, partly sunny skies, chance of those isolated thunderstorms mainly to the west, but notice those temperatures climbing up to 88 degrees on Saturday, and Sunday 87. Both days will say about a 25% chance of an isolated thunderstorm. And then on Monday, possibly some of that moisture from the outer edges of whatever might be a tropical system and a cold front combining could bring us a decent chance at some scattered showers on Monday, 83 degrees. And then those chances go down a little bit Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with high temperatures in the low to mid 80s.